What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to talk about what's happening with Tesla and the overall market. I'm going to give you guys a quick reaction to what happened during the robotaxi event, talk about some big earnings that came out and the PPI data, then break down the charts for SPY, ES, and the others. But just notes that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20, and deposit $25,000 more, and you're guaranteed 75. The offer ends in just about 20 days. Anyways, now let's talk about the market. So Tesla is the first thing I want to talk about really quickly. The share price is down almost 7% and still looking more bearish because we just got the robotaxi event, and this wasn't really what some investors were looking for. It was amazing. Actually, it was like very, very bullish for the long term of Tesla, but it requires a lot of different factors for it to really work out. So what do I mean by that? Many investors were hoping that Tesla would announce a Model 2. That's kind of like their typical model that could be driven, and then it's like more affordable. And then simultaneously, it also incorporates FSD, which will lead to it also being used as a very, very cool product that's like money generating and such. But instead, we didn't really get that, and they kind of defeated the purpose of that because now Tesla's investing more in the cyber cab instead. So they're under 20, or not under 20, under $30,000 EV is going to be this. Instead of it being a car that can be driven by humans and then also incorporating the full self driving technology, they have just a cyber cab. It has two doors, four wheels. They're saying it may not come out until like production may not start until a little bit before 2027. So we don't know for sure. They need a lot of regulatory approval and such. But I just want to say that when it comes to this, it's very, very cool. It's very, very bullish for the long term of the company. But there's a lot of things that we have to like get approved for this to really work. So that's something that's worth mentioning. They're also mentioning that they're going to have an unsupervised version of autonomous driving that's going to be done in California and Texas by next year, which is very bullish. And then it's going to use inductive charging for the cyber cab. I think I have a picture here. They also had the robo van that was announced, which is very, very cool. It could have like 20 people inside of it, but there weren't too many details about it. And they were giving more updates about Optimus and its capabilities, right? So, the robo van, it's cool. But instead of going down a route where they have a human drive that's able to drive their new EV that's under $30,000, no human could drive this. There's no steering wheel in this. So they're just going all in, or a lot more. They're investing a lot more into just the cyber cab instead, which is still like totally permissible. It could be very bullish, of course. But the issue I see is this: these aren't fully approved yet. It's going to take some time to get there, and this isn't going to boost Tesla's production numbers. At least for the time being, it's going to take a while until they start this. So that's why it wasn't really enough for the share price to really run. If they announced the Cybercab and also a new EV Model 2 that also incorporates FSD, that's supposed to be more affordable, and that it could be like competitive in China, that would be bullish. Share price would have ran really nicely. But instead, their more affordable EV is actually just a Cybercab that has two doors, and humans can't drive it. It has no steering wheel. It's just supposed to fully incorporate FSD. It's supposed to be very, very autonomous. So do I think it's bullish? Yes, I think it's very bullish for the long term, but it requires a lot of approval and a lot of things like that. And that's the reason why it wasn't really enough to get the share price to really start running, because we knew about this, right? It's not like this was a surprise or anything. But still cool stuff for Tesla nonetheless. Very bullish for the long term. Can't wait to see what else the future holds. For Friday, October 11th, that's today, we just got the PPI report. Month over month was at 0%, which is below expectations, which is good. Core PPI month over month was at 0.2%. That was aligned with expectations, which is also good. And then right here, we have PPI year over year at 1.8%. That's a little bit above what we expected, but still below 2%, which is not that bad. And the only thing that was kind of hot was core PPI year over year. So that was a little bit hot at 2.8%, slightly above expected. Not that great. So that's something that's worth mentioning. At 10 o'clock a.m., we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report and inflationary expectations. So be ready for that. And we'll be watching to see what volatility that causes. Now, we have a couple of bank earnings. We have Wells Fargo. They announced their earnings. They beat on EPS with $1.52 above expectations. Revenue was a slight miss, but it was very, very close, if anything. And then their guidance was not bad. Net income was a little bit short, but their guidance was not bad. That's why the share price is still up. They did beat earnings, at least on that end. BlackRock had pretty good earnings. I think their revenue came a little bit short. So revenue was at 15% up. Oh no, I'm sorry. It actually beats the consensus. They had good revenue. Excuse me, guys, about that. And their EPS was not bad whatsoever. Their assets under management went up, and overall, it's bullish for the share price. So everything was a nice beat for them. That's why the share price is up. And JP Morgan Chase has topped estimates, and we have the numbers right here. So they beat on earnings with $4.37 a share above expectations. Revenues at 43.32 billion above expectations. Their profits did fall 2%, but overall, despite that, they still raised their guidance. So right here, they raised their full year 2024 guidance, which is not bad. So overall, more good than bad. That's why JP Morgan is up right now. So pretty good earnings. As far as the rest of the market goes, just know that SPY has 569 as the max pain. We have about 798,000 of these puts expiring, and over 240,000 calls expiring with the 3.36 put to call ratio. We'll see how things go with the majority of positions being in puts, but then be very patient. As far as Tesla goes, Tesla wants to start pushing past up this 225 area to turn back to bullish. If you want to see this balance, you want to get back above the 225s, then we could be looking for a potential move to 231. And if we can't do that, if we end up losing 222, we're looking for a target of about basically 220. Then we have 217 if that fails us, followed by the gap fill all the way down to about 211. So we do have that gap to fill. I think if we end up continuing to fall and we don't hold above 220, the risks do favor 211. So I think the odds do favor the downside. Tesla looks more bearish. I think it might be dipping closer to 211 right now. So keep that in mind. For a few more, SPY is looking like it's trying to push, but the issue is we have a tough resistance at 577. If 577 breaks, we could get closer to like 578 and then 580. But if we can't get back above 577, the risk is that we come back down to 574. My gut tells me we might be dipping closer to 574, and we'll see if we bounce off that or not. But that's going to be a very, very interesting place to watch where there is a risk of us dipping a little bit. ES is also at risk of dipping. We have 58.40 is our resistance. If we lose 58.13, we could be dipping lower to 57.93. So we'll see if we get that rug pull or not. But there is a risk of us dipping a little bit lower looking at the charts. Nvda hit 135 as resistance, and if we break that, we're looking for basically 137 and then 140. If we can't break through those, the risk is that we favor a move down to 132 and then 131. So the odds do favor that in my personal opinion. Bitcoin is trying to rebound. We could be looking for basically 61,700. There's potential for us to try to push a little bit higher, but we'll see if we get a rejection or not. So I want to see a little bit of a push, and we'll see what kind of reaction it gets once it hits that resistance. For NQ, we have resistance around 20,500. If we break that, we're going to be pushing much higher. And if we end up losing 20,300, we're looking for 20,226. If that fails us, we're looking for a dip back down to about 20,000. So I do see a risk of us dipping closer to 20,200. We'll have to see if support holds, but watch for that very carefully. For the QQQ, we basically have 494 as resistance, 494 to 500. We also have support at 489. So if that fails us, we're looking for 486. This is favoring a move back down. It's about 489. We'll see if we bounce off that or not. So look for a little bit of a dip and watch that support. Resistance at 230. If we break this, we're looking for basically 232. If this rejects, we're looking for basically 227.5. We'll be watching to see if that ends up breaking, so be very, very patient. We have resistance at the 217s and support at 215. We're kind of stuck in the middle. If 215 fails us, I think there's a risk of us coming down closer to 212. As of right now, we're range bound in the IWM, so give it some time. Coinbase is kind of stuck in the middle. If we don't break past 168, we could decline back down to 163. For Amazon, we are trying to push a little bit, but look at 188 as a tough resistance. If it breaks 188, we're looking for 190. If it doesn't break, then we're looking for 185 again. If not, 183. So the odds do favor 185. Meta has resistance at 586. If we end up projecting here, we could be dipping to about 578. So we'll see how things end up going. I think 580 is very possible in the lower levels. For Microsoft, we hit resistance. We're fighting at 416. If this rejects, we could be dipping lower towards like basically the 410 area. If we break 416, we're looking for 419, but this is favoring downside a little bit more. For Google hit this resistance around 164. If that rejects, we're going to be dipping back down closer to about 161. So there is a risk of us dipping as well. So the market looks like it might slow down a little bit. It is a Friday, but there might be a lot of chop today because there's going to be manipulation. If anything, when we open, look for a little bit of a pop, and then there is a risk of slowing down because we have some tough resistance. So give the market the time it needs. With that being said, that's it for my update. Please have a great day, guys. I'll be back in a couple of hours for another one, and peace out.